everybody, and welcome back to the Sexy Business Podcast. I'm Lewd Neko, and I'm joined by none other than Spooky Dangerous.
That's me.
And today we are going to be doing another game focused episode by taking a look at orc massage.
Yeah, so I've set up a lovely little repeating GIF background of kind of the main scene that you see a lot of the time, which is just the orc like kind of T-posing in his massage studio. But to give kind of an overview of how the game works, I've played through the first hour and a half. Neko's just kind of watched a bunch of clips and stuff to kind of catch up. But the main kind of gameplay loop is a small goblin puts you in charge of the massage studio. And you can massage random clients off the street using like a rhythm game to get money. You then spend the money on equipment, which improves your skills, to then work on the main clients, the VIPs, which is kind of the love interest is the wrong word, the boink interests that come through the studio, and you're trying to soften them up towards like the actual sex content.
Yeah, I'd say this one got really popular because Markiplier actually uploaded some gameplay of it as kind of like a haha funny meme, but it did bring a lot of attention to this one. I remember it being talked about a lot, I think in 2022 or so. Especially because of the prominent monster girls. We all love them, and they look quite amazing in this game.
Yeah, a lot of the character design is really really good. Maybe that's where we should start. Let's start talking about some of the characters. So off the bat, well, let's talk about
Did you talk
our
about the orc?
yeah, let's talk about our protagonist first. So the orc doesn't actually deliver any dialogue. Really, he's kind of like a silent protagonist, and everyone just kind of talks at him, right? And the way that they work around this is by talking about how he's really really shy all of the time. And the first time that you actually have sex with a client, she's like very forward and says this is what she wants from you and this kind of stuff. So he's just like trying to get by working a job, and all of these women just keep throwing themselves at him, uh, which is kind of the vibe. He's just kind of like a really bulky figure, and some of the actual massage scenes is just like his massive hands just like covering someone as he like kind of presses on them in kind of a funny way. He doesn't really have much character development to himself. I think the whole idea is that he's blank, so that you're focusing more on exploring the other characters. And then you have like a goblin
Yeah.
boss who kind of works just like a tutorial. He doesn't really do much either, other than explain why you're there and what you're doing.
I think what's interesting about the orc main character is he does have the typical like quote unquote ugly bastard frame.
Hmm.
The
Big
big fucking
belly.
bulking hands, big belly, all of that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. Though he has a fairly like I would say like I'm not personally into orcs. They're pretty low on my tier list for monsters, but I think for people who are into orcs, I would describe his face as fairly pleasant to look at compared to some orcs.
He does have a lot of
Um,
expression work where he isn't menacing or scary. Like they do actually
he's
give
just kind of
him
there.
kind of more relaxed features when it comes to the facial expressions.
And it's like, this is all like, it's not NTR. Like, I know like some people were like, oh, is this going to be an NTR game because it has an orc protagonist? But no, these all women are just attracted to this orc because he's big and has a huge dick. But you get to play as him, so it's not cucking.
And as far as I can tell, they're all single. So
uh,
NTR
so
free
yeah.
product.
So it's kind of a way for people because, orcs are typically more in the NTR non-con genre. But if you like the body type or like the monster, but you don't like that stuff, I think this is good for both people who want to watch the orc, fuck the girls, or people who maybe want to self-insert being the girls. I've known quite a few women who were really into this game because they liked the protagonist.
Mm, that's fair. Let's start with our first girl that we get introduced to, which is Talia or Thalia. I can't tell if the H is pronounced. No one says the name out loud. Who is like a sleepy elf CEO businesswoman type. She's got big bags under the eyes. She works too hard at the office job, and her office chair isn't ergonomic enough, and that's why she seeks out your services in the first place. She's got that big dominant woman kind of vibe in how she interacts with you, because clearly you're just like um, a worker. You're just the guy there doing a job, and she's the boss, right? So that kind of holds up, and she's the one that's kind of how all of the things are tutorialized to you. So there's several different types of massages. The kind of the main one that you do is the full body massage, which has like a heat map of dots, and you have to make sure that all the dots turn green and you don't overdo it. And like that's kind of tutorialized with a blow up doll first, and then like you kind of see it work properly with her afterwards. And then some of the other massage types are a bit more like hot and cold, where you'll like have a big hand and that it will float over her body, and you can kind of see if you're getting closer to the spot that needs massaging, and then you'll like wiggle onto the thing. Um, and then later on, it gets to be like more complicated stuff for different characters. But you kind of walk through the different types of massages with her, and then you get to a point. I think foot massage is the last one, and then she's like, "I want more. I want a deep tissue massage." And then they
Wink,
kind of
wink.
introduced the like sexy foreplay massage one, which is actually really fucking hard to do, because you're like supposed to click onto the sensitive part and then wiggle the mouse in a way to get between a bar. And it shoots off the top really quickly. And if you're really slow, it just like slides back down to zero. So the strategy that I came up with is, and apparently this is exactly how women love it, is to go maximum intensity and then stop for 3 seconds, and then go maximum intensity and then stop for 3 seconds. It's guaranteed, fellas, to get you the big love heart that you're looking for.
It almost reminds me a bit of the like really old meet and fuck games.
Yeah, it's pretty
Because
much
they would usually
exactly
have
like
to,
that.
yeah, you'd have to like massage her, but you get really upset if you touch the wrong part of her body
In the
first, or
wrong
if you do
order,
it too
yeah.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly like that. And then once you've completed that, if you've they have like a hearts meter where, based on how successful each massage is, it fills up the bars and you get more hearts. And then if you reach a certain threshold of hearts, then after the first deep tissue massage, they ask for an additional one, which is the sex scene that you unlock. In my playthrough, I've done just the one sex scene with the first girl, and then just the one sex scene with the third girl, who we'll get to later. In an hour and a half of playing the game, there is a lot of nothing that happens. My main criticism of the game is that there is a lot of unskippable cutscenes of repetitive things. Like every time you go to talk to a client, you use the answering machine, you pick up the phone, and the picking up the phone thing takes like 5 seconds, and then the dialogue starts. And you're just like, I wish I could skip this every time. I don't need to see him picking up the phone. I know what's happening in the context right now. Um, but yeah, that's a tangent. That's kind of girl one. Girl two, I think, is Ava. I can't quite remember her name. And is a harpy girl, who hears about your massage services in a locker room, and then I skipped her entirely. Because in the way that it was presented to me in the game, they go, yes, here's girl two. I'm like, but I haven't fucked girl one yet. I need to go back and spend more time with girl one. And then by the time that I got to that with girl one, girl three was already introduced, and I just completely forgot about girl two. I was way more interested in girl three. So I've got no harpy content completed.
Well, I've watched her get absolutely smashed by this orc, so I can really only comment on her character design, which I mostly enjoy. So I'm a big hater of what I call butt wings, which are the wing placements where they're like right along the hips. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it looks weird and bad.
yeah.
But it's really common, especially with harpy characters. I think it should be in the middle of the back. That's my controversial hot harpy take.
It should be connected to the
Which
spine.
yeah, she does have the butt wings, though they look like normal wings because they're sort of angled in a lot of the positions that you do her in. So it looks like more of the traditional wing placement.
Hmm.
She does also have sort of a feathery like tail, I suppose, or some like back butt feathers, which is kind of cute. And she does have both clawed feet and hands. I know
Mm.
sometimes the harpies just have the clawed feet, but she's got bird arms and bird legs. And what I really like about her is that they went with like a goth look for a harpy, which I think is unique. I haven't really thought of that before. She's sort of like a crow or a raven or something like that.
Mm.
She's got like a little sort of almost plague doctor looking mask on the side of her head. So if you like goth girls, and she's a little bit more on the petite side too, which I do like. I think this one would be up your alley. I can't really say much about her personality, but I don't think many of us are playing this game for the gripping plot.
The romance lead, yeah. And then next up after her is the police officer tiger lady. This one was kind of instantly my favorite. I had a weird plot problem where I had not had sex with Girl 1 yet, and Girl 3's introduction cutscene happens, where she sees the massage shop, and in through the window, you see the orc having sex with Valia, the first girl. And I'm like, that hasn't happened for me yet. What the hell? When do I get this? Like, which would have been my first unlocked sex scene at like an hour into the game or some shit. And so I thought it was really funny that she got to see that before I did. But then she kind of comes in. She's like, "Oh, this is a suspect neighborhood. Are you up to no good?" And then she's kind of like doesn't trust you. She's like big Sundara vibes the entire time. And then she starts doing the massage to prove that you're obviously a legit massage business. And then she keeps coming back. And then she's like, "I know what you've been doing with the other girls. You should only be doing it with me and spare them, and I will be the one to take one for the team, so to say." And then she handcuffs you for the first sex scene, which I thought was really cool. I really liked the way that it played out. But I think she's the best designed of all the characters.
Mine is awesome.
Yeah, is a real banger. So I think her design is a banger. She's got kind of the police uniform, but it's like a office pencil skirt type thing, with the shirt and tie and blazer kind of up with like all the fucking insignia and medals and stuff, which kind of works well for her tiger design, because the shirt is like a t-shirt cut, and so that her elbows down, which is tiger paws and like claws and stuff, is free and shown, and the pencil skirt ends kind of like in the thighs, and then the actual like tiger knees down with like the actual pads and everything like that, and like the tail has a little spot for it to protrude as well. So it all kind of really works nicely in the balance, in the way that she's put together.
I will say the sex scenes also highlight her cat traits pretty well. There's one of them where he's taking her from behind and tugging on the tail, which is always a good touch. There's a lot of positions that sort of emphasize her paws, like her feet. So if you're into the cool feet, that's going to be up your alley. And I also like that you can see like her claws sort of tensing up, and you can see like the little fangs in her mouth.
Mm. Yeah. I really like her face design actually, because she's got like not just the tiger print, but it also is like a big eyeliner type thing as well, which really works with like the way that they've got like her hair and stuff sitting around her face, and kind of works well with the grumpy girl vibe. But then we've got girl 4, whose name is Emma. It's a really hard quiz I didn't study for, even though I was playing this game literally half an hour ago. Who is a mermaid, I think, or like a siren type thing. And she can have fish or people feet at will. She walks up to the studio. What I thought was really funny about this one is that you have to buy a special piece of equipment to be able to give her a massage, which is a hose. And you fill up the studio with water, just for her to be there. And so when you're introduced to her, she's just sitting on the couch, submerged, and then she gets up onto the massage table, which is above the water, and she's just not in it. So it really feels like they're playing to some level of comedy for the game, and then like actually going and, oh no wait, here's the thing that you care about. Here's the you're actually touching them and the girl's moaning constantly, and then here's the the sex scenes and stuff afterwards. But
I feel like they should have put her on like a water bed or something.
yeah, I feel like they could have done just her in the water more, I guess. Let's talk about her design. Apart from the fishtail and people feet, which is I think kind of the main draw. Um, the first thing that you notice that really separates from the other characters so far is the fact that she has massive knockers. Everyone else is kind of mid-sized by comparison. Um, so I guess in that way, she kind of stands out a lot. But when you transition from her being introduced to you and then sitting on the massage table, is like she's way more fish on the massage table. So there is some kind of transformation going on there. And I haven't played through enough of her yet to be able to go and see everything. This is like a really slow burn game. There's, like I said, there's a lot of nothing in between things. And in playing for an hour and a half, I've only seen 2 scenes. So I think I will probably go far enough with the fish lady to see what's going on, and then maybe come back to the harpy. Or if there's characters after, I don't know if there's more than 4 characters. Did you see any content from after that?
Right now there's only 4
Okay.
characters. The 5th one is going to be some sort of dragon girl, but that's been being teased for like a year.
Okay. Soon, I guess.
um, Yeah. But I will say, as far as the mermaid goes, I'm not the biggest fan of her color scheme, which is because I really like her overall design if it was in black and white.
Hmm.
I wish her main color was anything but
Salmon.
tan.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she has these really cool, like luminescent, like bioluminescent sort of arms that are like
Yeah.
black with these cool teal markings. And I wish it had just like any other color, like a gray or a blue or a green or even like a pink or a purple, like just anything but
Hmm.
tan.
That's fair. Yeah, it does make it feel a bit more like a half and half type design, right? Where they could have done something much more in the direction of the hands and arms, um, and then the everything else is very clearly salmon inspired.
Yeah. And then as far as her sex scene goes, I think the special thing is like she gets the tit job, of course.
Mm,
And then she does have like she is in mermaid mode, I think, for most, if not all of these, but it's sort of like easy to not pay attention to that if you're like, oh, that sounds weird. It sort of just looks like her legs are really tightly pushed together in a lot of the
mm.
angles they used. Though they do use one where he sort of like is holding onto her tail and holding like she's laying down on her stomach. So that one's kind of interesting, though none of these use water in them. Like she's not swimming or
What
in
the
the
hell?
water in
What?
any
Why
of
did I buy
these.
this hose for? What the hell? I flooded my
It
damn office for this.
Yeah, it feels like a bit of a missed opportunity to do something interesting with that.
Mm. I mean, it really wouldn't have been hard for it to just be on the couch instead of on the massage table and then be half submerged. Or just have the damn water level in the apartment be higher. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's just them not committing to the bit or if it was just a strange choice in general for that, or if they were like, this is just going to get in the way. You don't want to, you know. So I don't know. I can't tell if it feels like a missed opportunity or they were like forced to do it by half measure. You know.
Yeah, because I can understand they are like I'm not sure if it would have looked good because the water is sort of like clear and like it's not going to be something they're going to animate like oh like splashing in the water stuff like that because that's really hard.
Mm. Mm.
So I can understand logistically why they probably decided to go against it, but part of me is also like she's a mermaid though.
Yeah. All right. Now that we've introduced the characters, I want to talk gripes. I think the first one I already kind of mentioned, where I had a story incongruity, uh, where character 3 shows up and shows me a scene of something that had not already happened for me, which is obviously like not the biggest deal. It's either like, oh, here's what's gonna happen next for you, like a prelude. Um, but the way that they've set up the scene, is she's like, oh, this is what that orc's doing, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I haven't done anything yet. Um, which is kind of a letdown. But the biggest sin so far is I've encountered a weird bug with the first character's player model, where she's incredibly bent out of shape. I do have one safe for work screenshot, where she's incredibly wiggly, um, which I don't really know what happens. I have a hunch that in the foot massage scene, it puts her in a certain way that forces the perspective, but the way that your hands move around kind of makes not jiggle, but like forcefully pushes her around, and like her torso can actually move quite a lot just by you pushing her. But I don't think it's intended, and it kind of gets stuck like that. So you just kind of Play-Doh her into a weird shape by the end of it. Obviously my immersion is fucking ruined. Women are not meant to be this kind of ridiculous zigzag shape. But that only happened with me for the first character. I didn't have that issue with the third character. Genuinely, for me, the police officer is like enough for the game to be a buy. I think that she's done really well. I enjoyed all the content with her so far. I think there's still 2 or 3 more things for me to unlock with her, which makes me feel like it's worth. And I still like can then just go and kind of cautiously explore the other characters with whatever's left. Which I think will probably end up being like 3 hours gameplay time total for me to finish unlocking everything. Which isn't bad. It was only $20, I think.
15.
15? Like, yeah, US or Australian. I think they're the
I think
same
it's
number.
15. I think it's 15 US.
Yeah,
But
which is
I
about
looked at
20
the
Australian.
Patreon, or I looked actually at the early access description. I think they're planning on raising it to 25 for the full release.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I guess depending on how many extra characters they add, right? Because if they, I feel like depending on how many extra characters they add, they can really actually get a lot of gameplay time into this game. Um, but a lot of it's going to feel really samey, and you would want to have it open up really quick so that you're not like you don't have to complete on characters you don't like to go and play characters you do like, which is kind of a problem. If you are really not interested in Girl 1, who kind of serves as the template for how you progress through all the other characters, you're going to be slogging for, like me, an hour of nothing before you actually get to encounter and talk to characters you do care about, which is a bit rough. I don't think anyone would play any of the games that I've made for an hour with no sex scenes and then be like, yeah, finally, let's. But again, it's visual novel medium is a bit different. So yeah, that the way that it's structured in how you encounter the different characters is really slow, and I think that's really the only major drawback. There's a lot of random filler stuff. Like there's an exterior shot of the kind of lot that you're in. It's like a motel kind of design where there's several different businesses in there, and you see that shot 3 times in a game day. It doesn't really add anything beyond telling you the time of day, which is not super relevant to the gameplay because you can do every action at every time of day. So I don't need to see it all the time. I think it is just a loading screen, but it doesn't say that. So it just feels like an establishing shot for something that's already been established 20 times so far. Which is a bit tough. But what about you? What did you think of all the scenes and stuff that you watched?
Yeah, it's hard for me to judge like the gameplay. I took a cursory glance at it, and I think the massage mechanics seem interesting and fun. I didn't like the sort of the way you grind for money, where it's more of like a rhythm game where you just repeat like basically symbols to a beat. I
Yeah.
had problems with it from a rhythm game perspective, where I think rhythm games should be required to have some sort of visual indicator for timing. Um, like it's all of them do that, and I think it's silly that they don't have a visual
Like
indicator
the Guitar Hero type thing where the things are going to slide towards where you have to press the button.
or just anything that would indicate like you're supposed to press the button now,
Yeah.
now, now. So you don't necessarily have to rely on like listening for it. And then as far as the sex scenes go, I do think there's a lot of good animation, obviously. There's some really good facial expressions, a good amount of poses. I think the biggest gripe for me this is gonna be a really silly one, but I have a very particular kink is the cum shots. I think they look bad. Um, I'm very particular about, especially in 3D models, like how cum looks. And the
Hmm.
cum here does not appeal to me. It looks bad. It looks almost like whipped cream or something like that. Like it kind of just flies out. I like to see like the dripping cream pies, or I like to see it like actually get on her, or like something like that, and especially if it's an orc.
The
So
cum
I was
hose.
disappointed, right?
Yeah,
I
so
expected more.
in the two scenes that I saw, both of the cums, that's totally a word, were internal, and I didn't actually see anything, any like any
Right? It should
blasting,
drip
any
back out.
leakage, nothing. They just made the noises, made the quick noises, made the faces, and that was the end. So I didn't actually
I do
see
also
any to
think,
confirm nor deny it was good.
yeah, I do also think, and maybe this is something they might consider adding when the game is closer to completion. I think voice acting would benefit this game so much. They have
Mm.
like little moany sounds for the girls and stuff like that, but I think voice acting their dialogue would be a really nice touch.
Yeah, they've done the really light voice acting with the and then like 1,000 moan sounds. So like the actual, because there's like visual novel segments for it, um, which aren't obviously voice acted. I think adding voice acting to that and like the actual little dialogue the characters do deliver would add a lot to the game because it will help convey their personality a lot. Um, that said, in the actual massage scenes, the like moan sound you get is the reward for giving a good massage, and that's really all you get for a while until you actually start to get towards the end of their track. So obviously the VA in those moments like has to be really good. Um, but in the actual sex scenes, in the first one especially, it was like the same exact MP3 file played way too closely together, and you could just start to tell really quickly. Which, considering how good the audio for the game had been up until that point, was kind of a letdown. But I think, yeah, I like knowing that this is an early access game that does have plans for the future, even if not a lot has happened in the interim. I think just adding more characters is enough for the game to be very good. I don't know that it needs to do insane quality upgrade stuff. A lot of the little nice to have stuff would be to like touch up some of the scenes that does have, you know, hose cock moments. I agree would be great. Because one of the big upsides of like running a Blender animation type game, like this big 3D game, is that you can get liquid physics, so that it is actually gonna like blast somewhere, it is actually gonna drip somewhere, and you can manage a lot of that stuff. And it's not like the game is gonna be simulating it live; it can just be in a cutscene. It can just it's gonna be pre-rigged anyway, so it wouldn't actually be that complicated to make it be good. So I could easily see them adding that and adding something to the game.
And then I will also say for those in the audience, this is not a game if you are expecting fast updates, if you're expecting like hours upon hours upon hours of just infinite content. Because I just did like a cursory glance of like some threads talking about Orc Massage and some of the negative reviews, and the biggest thing was usually people who didn't really like the limited amount of content or the spaces between, or the gaps I should say, between updates, which right now is like well over a year. And the dev also doesn't have a huge social media presence. I think he occasionally posts like a couple of like pictures, like maybe like once a month or maybe every other month. So there's not as much of that sort of fan engagement, which may also be because I think they are not an English dev. I think they're like Chinese,
Yeah, I think it is
or something
Chinese.
like that. So I don't know if maybe on Chinese social media they have more engagement with people, because at least on English sites it's pretty limited.
It's also possible that this is just not their main job. This is just like a side thing that they're doing, and it's hard to commit time to be able to do it because adding a whole new character and rigging and doing all the bonus stuff does not take a year. Like, there's obviously other stuff that is taking away from being able to do that. But if they had, like a really consistent patron, if they had like actually all the money to be able to come and do this full time, you could be able to expect more consistent, more impressive things, which is usually the main gate stopping indie projects like this from being able to have all those boxes ticked and meet all the kind of fan demands and stuff like that. But that is our time for this week's episode of the Sexy Business Podcast. This time was a bit more fun, where we got to come and have a look at Orc Massage, and last week as well we got to come and have a look at Tales of Androgyny. So we have done a bit of game focused stuff after doing a bunch of business analysis stuff the week before. So I'm curious to know what you, the audience, would like to see more of. Are you more interested in industry stuff, which was kind of the idea when we started this, or are you more curious in us having a look at other different projects and doing, character design critique, looking at gameplay and stuff like that, analyzing scenes, which obviously we can't show on YouTube, but we can talk about and you can imagine in your mind what is happening. Let us know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you're excited to see in the Sexy Business Podcast in the future. And if you want to see more content from us, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so that we can have a happy Neko joining us, because every time you close the tab without clicking all the fun buttons, we get a sad Neko. And honestly, it's kind of a big
Oh,
problem for me to have to deal with here in the office, here in the
they
Sexy
left
Business
again,
Podcast
Spooky.
office. So don't worry, they're going to click the buttons, I believe, and then we'll be seeing you next week on the Sexy Business Podcast.
Bye bye.